Hey, it's Amanda Lee Smith. This is My Best Campaign. And today we're talking about influencer marketing. Now, this is a side of marketing I don't do much. And so it's a bit of a black box to me. And I wanted to understand how to do it at scale globally. So I tracked down an expert who joined me all the way from Paris. But before we get into that, a quick word from our sponsor, Monday Creative. Monday is a brand strategy and creative agency that we started all the way back in 2018, but there's a lot that's new this year. Vancouver has always been our home. That's where our main office is, and most of the team are there. But this year we officially expanded into the US to better serve our clients here. We now have an office in Portland where you can find me a lot of the time. And we launched a new Monday brand and website earlier this year. And I'm so proud of the work we have there. There's campaigns for Keen and Arc'teryx and Lululemon, but also some great insights projects for Adidas and just magical pop-up and experiential moments that are all documented for your inspiration. Check it out at mondaycreative.co. Now let's get into the show. My guest today is Allegra Contatore. She is the head of PR and communications for EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Asia, at the clean beauty brand Sunday Riley. She brings so much expertise from her time at luxury brands, and I wanted to understand how she thinks about running an influencer program at scale. Let's face it. Influencers, or creators, as we call them now, have replaced so much of traditional media. Instead of putting millions of dollars into one major media buy, brands now put thousands of dollars into hundreds of little creator campaigns. Allegra actually ran 500 of them last year. And in this episode, she gives us a look into how it works. She shares her number one secret for getting high conversion out of creator campaigns and tells the story of the male beauty influencer who absolutely blew up during his contract with Sunday Riley. I wanted to know what Allegra looks for in an influencer that tells her it's going to be a successful collaboration, and whether you need a different influencer strategy for each country you're in, because she's in a lot of countries. And I wanted to get to the bottom of the enduring power of the Get Ready With Me video. So here's my chat with Allegra Contatore.
Yeah, so Sunday Riley is an American company. It's a Texas-based company. It's named after our CEO and founder, which is Sunday.
And her name is actually Sunday?
Sunday, yes. It's Sunday Riley. Yeah, it's her name and last name. And the brand is it's a very yes brand because Sunday herself is a very yes person. She's someone that is very, proactive and very willing to invest in different types of projects. And the bigger, let's say, the principle of like all the formulas of the products, we're powered by science and balanced by botanicals, meaning that every product has great active ingredients. As soon as you start using the products, you actually see great results on your skin. Mm-hmm. And this is something that I feel towards the year made a big difference for our brand and kind of made, the customers very loyal to the brand because as you start using the products, you can see some results. And actually, there are some of our products that guarantee results after like 3 minutes. When you apply it, after 3 minutes, you really see a difference. Yeah, this is Good Genes, one of our worldwide best-selling product. After 3 minutes, you really see a difference in your skin. It's more smooth, more glowy.
There's so many promises that skincare brands make that you can't substantiate. But when you hear someone say, like, you will see the effects in 3 minutes, it's pretty convincing.
It is.
Yeah. So tell me about your journey. You have come up through luxury brands. Like you've worked at Chanel, Roger Vivier, Cartier. What drew you to this role more of like, those are very European brands. What drew you to this American startup?
Okay, so first of all, I would say I have a much more like entrepreneurial way of working. I am someone who loves to like propose ideas and start a project and take care of it from A to Z. It's something that really resonates in me. And then the other thing is like, obviously luxury and fashion, which are beautiful, like the brands that I worked in the past, they're based a lot of times, on like heritage and also, on like image. Whereas I feel like skincare speaks more in terms of like results, also trust, because it's something that you need to apply on your skin and you need to, obviously trust the brand. So I really love the idea to participate to the growth of a brand. and to kind of, take it to the next level, even though obviously Sunday was already a pretty established brand in the US. But when I started at Sunday, I was, obviously I was taking care of other markets where we had to really develop the distribution, the communication to really create a community around us. So that was a challenge, and I love that. I thought it was very exciting because oftentimes in obviously bigger corporation, you're very tied to your role, whereas in a company that is in a full phase of development like Sunday, you get to wear so many hats, and I feel this is so for your personal career, it's very empowering and it makes you grow so much more. So yeah, I would say this is what really drove me to this brand and to skincare as well. By the way, I've always been a big skincare lover. I've used, I remember my mom was, when I was in kindergarten, she used to do my skincare. So that's something that, yes.
I mean, that's almost become the norm now with Gen Alpha, but I think would you consider yourself a Gen Z or a millennial?
I think I'm a millennial, unfortunately.
Yeah. You were like a rarity. I think like skincare wasn't a thing.
No, but
at that age.
And also because I'm Italian and I feel, Italy, it's a country where I feel makeup has still a bigger portion of market rather than skincare. My mom was always using more skincare than makeup.
That's a good distinction. Do you think, so you live in France now, do you think France has more of a skincare culture than a makeup culture and Italy has more of a makeup culture?
Absolutely. Yes. 100%. Here in France, it's very, it's very important, the like clean beauty, wearing like very minimal makeup, but having like a very nice skin. Whereas in Italy, you always wear makeup, even if you just need
full face.
Yeah, absolutely. And from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m.
So it seems like comms and PR have evolved so much in the last decade. And, one time when I was coming up, it was purely about media, but from what I can tell, that's really shifted. Is it fair to say that media relations has almost been kind of usurped by influencer and creator campaigns and events?
100%. And, I feel like there are brands that were really like created because of influencer marketing. So yes, absolutely.
Literal creator brands.
Yes, absolutely. And today, like it's more around, I would say like kind of like an ecosystem based, and media obviously is still important, like press and magazines. But, we also worked a lot with like creators, dermatologists, even like community voices, or like even just like social storytelling. I feel customers and are really, this gain so much credibility, and feel like today, if I had to say how is PR today, I would say that it's more about like building conversation across different medias and different like platforms simultaneously. So I don't think like influencers in a way like replaced media. It just brought like a bigger voice.
Like, do you think that influencers require more effort because you have to have more of them to do the job of, say, one big publication used to in the old days? Or can you still have huge impact with a limited number of creators?
Yes, to be fair, I really think that. I think you can have a huge impact even with, just fewer influencers, because some influencers, they really have like a very loyal community, and those people really trust them. And I would feel like, obviously, like, on old media, like a magazine or something like that, it's more institutional in a way, but it's maybe more formal. Whereas like an influencer is obviously more, it's closer because it just speaks to you. And sometimes you just feel, for example, in Get Ready With Me or things like that, it's as if you had a conversation with your friend while getting ready. So I feel that, no, absolutely. I think it could make a very big impact, even influencers that have a smaller community.
Yeah. So working with creators and influencers is a big part of your job. It sounds like media is still a component. And then you're also doing events. What does the breakdown look like? Like, what does a typical week in your life look like?
Oh, wow. It's very different. It's never the same. That's why also I adore this job, because it has never been the same. But there were periods in this job where I had to travel a lot, obviously, because I cover so many markets in, in Europe, in Middle East. So yeah, I would say like traveling, it's also a big part of my job. And then obviously influencer marketing. So throughout the years, I think I ran more than 500 campaigns each year. Wow. So across different countries. So it's obviously a lot of email exchange with a lot of people. So a lot of communications with a lot of different people. And then events, the same, obviously we do everything in-house, which I think it's huge. But yeah, it's very exciting, very stimulating. So a lot of calls, a lot of emails, but also a lot of traveling and a lot of in-person meetings as well.
Yeah. How many languages is your team working in?
I mean, a lot, because they're like German, French, Italian, Spanish, Arabic.
I mean, keeping track of all of English. That. And yeah, it's one thing to be tracking your creator base in North America where everyone speaks English, but it's a whole other thing to be like sourcing good fit creators in so many different countries within one giant market.
Yep.
You talked about events. Obviously, that takes a lot of energy, but you also talked about those 500 different campaigns. Yes. What do you think has a greater impact on brand growth, influencers or events?
I feel both, definitely. The main difference that I would say is that, so whenever you host an event, you are putting all of your marketing efforts in one moment. So whether you manage to, obviously achieve the maximum from that one moment or not, everything is tied to that moment. Whereas when you have campaigns, I feel you're putting your marketing efforts, your budget as well, for something that lasts longer, because a campaign can run for weeks if you want. So I would say it's different. I would say both obviously work, but it depends on what you're trying to achieve. So for me, if you really want to speak to a bigger number of people, campaigns work best. If you want to have something more specific on a product or, a new launch or a messaging that you want to transfer, I would say like an event. But the most successful campaigns in general, for me, they combine both.
How do you think about linking that IRL experience with what's happening with your influencers? Like, how do you create consistency across what a whole bunch of creators are making and this like very fine-tuned branded event?
That's tough, actually. It's hard to control. Obviously every influencer has some sort of like brief, but what we do here, which I feel it's different. And I think that was also kind of the key to the success of a lot of influencer campaigns that we had, was that we didn't have like a very strict brief. We only, we would only say, for instance, we want you to promote this product or this line, or even like just this messaging. And then we would ask them to come up with some like marketing, some, messaging, some ideas around the campaign. So they would really have to write like a storytelling for the campaign. And then we would maybe approve that and control the way they would speak about us. We never had a very strict guideline or like, so that's hard to control, as you said, because obviously in an event you are running the show. Whereas for influencer marketing, you kind of give the power to someone else. But yeah, I think that's successful, because when people can feel that they really enjoy and really love the products, that's when you actually see a conversion.
Yeah. And it sounds like the creators are almost pitching back to you. So you do have some aspect of control. It's not like you're just putting a brief out into the world and waiting to see what they create. There's a conversation between the two of you.
Yes.
Yeah. It's almost like they're functioning like a mini one-person agency. You write them a brief, they pitch back ideas, and then they execute.
Yeah, this is what I really advocate for that throughout the years, because I feel brands don't do that. Like they have they have like a pitch and that's it. And then you need to stick to the pitch and that's it. Whereas I really love for each one of them to be creative and actually show us their personality and the way they communicate. 'Cause we are all different, and this is what makes us, unique and interesting. And I feel people follow someone because of the way they communicate, or because of their style, or because of the way they think. And I think if you remove that by giving like a strict script, it stops to resonate. So I wouldn't engage with something like that.
Yeah. At the same time, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to manage that many little campaigns. It seems like working with influencers and creators is like this campaign that never, ever stops. Do you think about it as sort of one always on evergreen content machine, or do you think about it as like discrete campaigns that have a bunch of different components going out?
For me, it's kind of like one always on. It's one always on. Then it changes obviously because it can change the product that we're talking about or the focus, that we have for that specific month. But it's an always on conversation that keeps the brand alive as well, because if you keep having conversation around it, like if you hear something for 3-4 times, you're likely to remember it. So yeah.
So that means that like every campaign has lots and lots of touch points. Obviously this podcast is called My Best Campaign. You probably have had many small, like many, you mentioned 500 over the course of a year, many small campaigns. But when you think back, is there one partnership that you're particularly proud of, or that really stands out as being a really successful one that you executed?
So yes, I have even more than one in mind, but if I had to name only one, I would say there was this campaign. It was in France, and it was linked to one of our retailers. And I'm someone that really tries to with my team to look for like new talents and people that are kind of different, because again, if the people just engage with the same influencers and you always activate the same type of influencers, I feel like your content kind of gets redundant in a way, even though we try to have all this storytelling and make it very unique for each single campaign. I'm always trying to scout and find new talents and new people that could become, the next influencer of the month or of the year. So with this specific campaign, I thought that this guy, it would become very influential. And obviously he really wanted to work with us. So I booked him for 4 campaigns. And obviously I negotiated a fee that was fair to the amount of followers that he had at the time. And then this person went very, very viral, and profile grew by, I don't know, millions. So at the time he had, when I booked him, he had 200,000. And then by the end of our 4th campaign, he had 5 million on both platforms, on Instagram and TikTok. So basically, we booked this talent for a very, reasonable price. And then he had such a huge, he communicated to such a huge crowd. And we had amazing results. We went out of stocks on many SKUs because of those campaigns. So yeah, I think that those campaigns were pretty successful.
Tell me what that brief would have looked like when you say you engaged him for 4 campaigns. What was the ask?
So basically at the beginning, we wanted to promote our serum, on the vitamin C serum. So the CEO serum, which is another of our best-selling product. And for the campaign, I mean, basically that was kind of genius, to be honest, because he's a very good looking guy, and he had obviously a huge amount of girls following him. The first campaign, it was this, you couldn't see the girl. There was a girl that was putting the serum on his face. And everyone was like, who is she? That is his new girlfriend and all of that. So that created a huge buzz around those. And then we had later on the reveal as well, which also had a big impact. So yeah, I thought that was very smart.
And was it his new girlfriend?
No.
This shocks me every time, and it happens way too often. A new business comes to us with a budget for a campaign. They're putting spend against it. They've already made the media buy. They're so excited for a big launch or maybe their first ever campaign. And when they send me their brand book, all it has is a logo. There's no personality, no perspective, no positioning. That's not a brand, that's a color palette. Before you even think about dropping budget on a campaign, you need to know what you stand for. What white space can you claim? How are you making your customers' lives better? If you don't start from a solid foundation of purpose or some core belief, you are throwing money away on a campaign. Sure, you might see some quick sales, but you're building on sand. There's no foundation, and you'll always be chasing the next sale. Brand building is creating a world and a system of beliefs that the right customers will see themselves in and get attached to. Like any investment, brand building has a long tail and it grows over time. You cannot cut corners. The team at Monday Creative are the brand architects who build that firm foundation with you, pulling out the beliefs that are already there, elevating that gold, and just sprinkling a little bit of Monday magic on top. If you know you need to do some building from the ground up, we'd love to hear from you. Find us at mondaycreative.co. Do you think his work with Sunday Riley contributed to his growth, or do you think that happened independently?
No, to be fair, I think that happened independently. I think that obviously the campaign went super well and he for sure gained a lot of followers, but we didn't publish the campaign on our social media. It was just on his profile.
So it sounds like there was like a build up, there was suspense, and almost like there was this cohesive storyline between the 4 posts that kept you engaged and wanting to see more. Like he knew who his audience was, and he knew what would like grip them and then keep them paying attention to what was coming next.
Absolutely, yes.
What was the impact on the brand? What was the, like, from a number standpoint?
We went sold out on many SKUs. Obviously, it was linked to one of our retailers, but yeah, we went sold out. I remember we had a great sales throughout, those campaigns. So they really made an impact. Consumers are kind of bored by the content created, but if you're strategic and if you're creative, campaigns can bring you so much, in terms of conversion, engagement, sales.
Yeah. Is measuring attribution ever a problem? Like, it sounds like you were really clearly able to say that this had an impact. How do you assess what the impact is?
Yeah. First of all, obviously you see the engagement, the comments, and then sales.
Because it was tied to a specific retailer, it was really easy to track.
Yeah. Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. What kind of back and forth would you have had with him? So did he just pitch the idea and it got greenlit?
In that case, we had his manager and me, we had that conversation, and we saw that his profile was getting so much attention and he was growing like followers so quick. So we were like, we need to create something very strategic here. We need to, leverage that moment and make the best out of it. So we did think about that because we knew that a lot were interested in, obviously in his dating life and all of that. So we thought like, why don't we fake that he has a girlfriend? And
Great. So it was an idea that came almost from your side of things, but in partnership with his manager.
Yes. Yes.
So you can have some influence, but he puts his own spin on it.
Yeah, obviously they need to agree on that. His manager was really keen on doing this. He was very creative.
How do you assess a new creator that you're going to work with? So you mentioned with Bach that you kind of knew that he was growing. So he's at that 200,000 mark. What is the sweet spot for number of followers when you're looking to onboard a new creator? And what are the signs that you look for that tell you, oh, they're really going to be able to deliver on this and they're probably going to take off?
I think the engagement, if you see like the number of comments, like when people engage, you see that there are some creators that followers really love and they really follow them and their opinion really matter. And so one thing I would say, like, the engagement that they have, so the number, obviously of comments, likes and all of that. And then because we're still a brand that is in an expansion phase, I don't have like a specific guideline or who I don't want to work with or what I want to work with. I think I'm very open to many types of creators as well, not only, beauty creators, the more classical ones. Obviously, we work with them as well, but I think it's important to touch like different types of influencers as well, because they're followed by, potential customers.
Yeah. I mean, with Sunday Riley, when you said you worked with a male creator, I immediately assumed he was someone that was into cosmetics.
No, sorry. To be fair, back specifically, he did a lot of campaigns where he was sponsoring a lot of like normalizing wearing makeup as a man and things like that. And also, to be honest, I really love the campaigns that are different. These are the ones that I love the most. So I think working with men as well for skincare, it's great because they're getting more and more into this field, you know, and I feel it's still a market that has less competition in a way.
Yeah, but it sounds like he was such a perfect fit because he probably has both a male and a female following. And so you're reaching both of those potential audiences. So, so like really strategic. When you think about your relationships with creators across the board, what are some of the key ingredients of the most impactful campaigns you've worked with them on?
I feel like people that speak great, you know, like influencers, not all of influencers speak directly to their followers. I think people that speak to them, oftentimes they have a best engagement. And also people that have their unique identity, even if they have a specific style or a specific way of communicating or a specific way of like thinking or writing or editing. So obviously everyone is unique and I really believe in that. But I think some they stress that aspect more than maybe others. And I feel these are kind of like the trendsetter, even in influencer marketing.
The social space is not a space where I personally spend a lot of time, but my team does. And every once in a while, I'm kind of looking over their shoulders and seeing what happens. Yeah. And we talk about this all the time. The pace of trends and how quickly it moves is just so hard to keep up with. How do you stay relevant and make sure that what your creators are pitching back to you isn't sort of passé or overdone? Do you have a vetting system for that?
I think you need to check constantly of what other people are doing and be creative and like reading. As for everything, it's a constant work of like, staying in the loop, being updated, checking like what's new, what's trendy, like what are the hot topics of the moment and things like that. Yeah. So for instance, even oftentimes like, a new TV series comes out and people get obsessed over a certain style or a certain, period of time. And then, you kind of want to obviously keep your brand image and the way you communicate the same, but shifting it to different interests or different momentum. So yeah, that's kind of that. You need to always look for what's new, what's hot.
Yeah. Do you have some favorite sources that you're willing to share of where you look for those trends?
Honestly, even on social itself, like on TikTok and on Instagram and on, obviously then there are some other like Business of Fashion, things like that, some more institutional magazines, but I would say from social itself, I think like TikTok, it's so quick. It allows you to really look for content so quickly and you spot the new trends very easily there. If you have a good eye, I would say to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any theories about what makes these trends take off? I mean, like every single trend has to start somewhere. Do you think it's coming from TikTok itself? Like, is TikTok creating the trends? Is there a certain type of influencer that is just doing something new? It seems like so many creators are just replicating trends. Yeah. Who's actually starting them?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think, as I said, I believe that there are some people that are more bold and they really like, they're not scared to like say what they think or say what they prefer. And so I feel, that's how a trend is created. So someone just speaks and conveys like an idea or like communicates on something and other people just pick that up.
Is there anything that you just dread getting back from a creator when you're working them? What happens when someone totally misses the mark, and what are kind of the like, moments that you're like, oh, don't send me that?
Obviously, it has happened where, an influencer obviously sends you the content for approval and all of that. And then you see that the product's very little shown or very little mentioned, and it's more about them. I feel that's it's annoying because you need to clearly, it's obvious for you, but apparently it was not very obvious for the other part. So you need to, go back and be like, hey, the focus of the campaign needs to be the product and the brand. So obviously we chose you as a representative for that, but you need to communicate on this.
Do you, in those cases, when you have an agreement with a creator, will you ever just do a kill fee and just sort of be like, we're not going to move with this? I
mean, if you have like a contract signed and all of that, you just go back and, you ask them to make another version. But we always negotiate in the beginning to have several versions of the content, and then we can make adjustment until it's approved and then published. So yeah, it's part of the job, I believe, but in some cases it's more challenging than in other cases. Yeah.
But they'll usually get there through the review process. They'll usually be able to get it across the finish line.
Yeah.
How much control do you have over whether content goes live on an influencer's channel? So let's say, would they ever just publish something that wasn't approved?
No, that has never happened, to be honest.
Yeah.
No.
That's
no, that has never happened. No, because you always get to have the final approval. It's part of, the deal.
So you're doing this in multiple countries, as we talked about, in multiple languages. And we even talked about the difference between Italy and France in terms of how people think about what they're putting on their face. What are some of the bigger nuances from country to country in your region? Like what would absolutely work in maybe Italy, but not in France, or something that, would land in the EU, but not in the Middle East or even the US?
So in France, it's more like clinically proven and all of that. Whereas in Italy, you convey more through like emotions. It's more personal in a way. And also as well, there's a different usage, obviously of skincare in different countries, and which also has an impact as well on the way you communicate. And then, for instance, in Middle East, I feel, obviously there are influencers that have such a great aesthetic and everything is very perfect and very curated. The image is very important. So yeah, I feel that resonates more like from an image point of view. So based on that, you come up with different strategies.
In those markets, like thinking about the Middle East, where it's all about, like a really perfect image, would something like a get ready with me video work? Like, are people willing to be shown kind of pre-makeup?
Not really.
Not really. Yeah. So you have to really have different formats there.
Yeah. So like I feel Middle East is more like sophisticated digitally. It's more like curated, clean, but obviously there is a different willingness to show you like without makeup at all. Yeah, it's different.
And if you're all about skincare, like as a brand, would you prioritize those that would be willing to show themselves without makeup so you can really see the impact of the skin, or does it matter?
Yes, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So there's certain formats that work better and certain formats that don't, and you have to translate them differently.
I always say, like, I create a different strategy for each country. Each country has a different way, and also the brand is gonna perform differently in each country, because as I said before, like France is a market that has such an established variety of brands that exist in centuries that have also a different price point. So it's obviously the impact that a campaign can have is different maybe than Italy or Middle East. And even like the buyers' behavior are different for each country. I feel like in Europe, we buy more for ourselves and we tend to buy more in store, whereas when you go to Middle East, there's a culture where you buy one product because you love it. Maybe you're going to buy it for like your mother, your sister. It's different.
Interesting. So you'll buy it as a gift, maybe just as much as you're going to buy it for yourself.
Exactly. Because if you believe in that product, you want also the people around you to try it. And oftentimes like people even ask you like, oh, I love that product that you used. Would you buy it for me? Obviously we're talking about people in your family or your closest friends. Yeah.
So you're thinking more about gifting, like you're talking more about gifting in those markets.
Yes. And whereas even in the US, obviously US customers purchase a lot online, for instance. And whereas in Europe, I feel we still need to go in store and try it at least the first time.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe that's, I'm an in-store gal, and maybe that's a reflection of my time living overseas. Maybe Canada's more like Europe in that way.
Maybe, yeah.
That is really interesting. Okay, you mentioned that you have to spend a lot of time in social channels to keep up with what's happening. Also, I'm sure to see what your various partners are doing. What is inspiring you right now? What's something new and fresh that you're excited about at the moment?
I love when brands speak about the behind the scenes, and when they speak about the reality of working for this company or the reality of like making this product. So what excites me and what inspires me the most right now, it's really to see the reality behind the scenes on like brands and products, or like it's so interesting to have like this very personal anecdote on how like a founder created a product, if obviously it's a founded led brand, or like how a brand came up with a brief for that product, or how is it like even to work for that brand. So I love when there's when I see this type of communication for consumer, because it feels real. Yeah. And I think it engages a lot. And I think brands are shifting more and more towards that. And it's something that I'm, very keen on, and I'm taking a lot in consideration for the future campaigns.
Is there some freedom at Sunday Riley for staff to share their experiences of working at the brand?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, as I said, Sunday is a very yes person. She's very open. So absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I know on your own social channels, you share about events that you do. Yeah. Are there kind of limitations that you put on yourself, or will you just share anything?
I mean, obviously there's confidentiality for our, future projects, but I think in general, whatever we did, it's good that we share it, so that, people have a sense of why we're relevant, what do we do, what are we launching, what are we focused on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay. I have a bunch of somewhat rapid fire questions for you. Yes. The first one is, what is the brand that you go to most often online for inspiration?
One of our competitors, you mean?
Whichever. It could be a competitor, it can be in a different space. Is there anyone who you're just like, they knock it out of the park every time?
I think, I really love the way Jacquemus communicates. It's obviously it's a completely different industry, but I think he stays relevant all the time, and is very, also the aesthetic that he has, it's beautiful. And I love how he makes great marketing, and I love that. I think he's good. He had very genius moments, and I absolutely find the aesthetic of the brand as well very beautiful.
It's very curated, like, a Jacquemus post when you see it, but also it's very distinct and unique, even using his grandmother as his muse, for example. Yes. No one else is doing that, and then having the big unveil around it, there's just enough unexpectedness about it.
So much. And I love that. At times it's very familiar, because obviously everyone, even the fact of having his grandmother or speaking about his mom, it speaks to everyone, because, everyone, a mom's or a grandma speaks to everyone. And at the same time, he really capitalized on the what's hot in the moment, or what's trendy, by having a very strong aesthetic. So I love him. I love the way it makes marketing. I think it's really genius.
Yeah. So inspiring. Okay. On the flip side, what brand do you think is ready for a glow up?
No, don't ask me that.
What brand do you love that you would love to see be more in the spotlight and do a better job of celebrating themselves?
It would be interesting to see some, more old heritage established brands to speak in a different ways. And then obviously you can use different channels, so you can speak in a certain way on TikTok or your Instagram.
Yeah. And we're seeing a lot of brands. I'm thinking of, I think, Chanel, that put out a film recently, and it was very elevated and very beautiful, but they use contemporary celebrities that really hit the moment. Still thoughtful and sophisticated, but also relevant to right now, and using kind of the cinematic moments that have been so popular at the
Chanel always did that in a way. I remember even when I was in school, that I had those advertisements they used to do, on Chanel Numéro 5, so beautiful, and they were short movies. There are some form of communications that I think are kind of redundant. I am tired when I see some sort of redundancy in the way they do the campaigns. I think, for example, I mentioned it before, the Get Ready With Me's, I love them. We'd all use them, and I think they will always have some sort of importance, but it depends on the way you do it. So the very classical ones that are just a listing of products that you're applying, I think they're kind of redundant. I think we should be more creative.
Yeah. What are the get ready with me's that you think work really well?
I think the format where it's more conversational, it's more about what you're trying to tell your audience instead of like listing the products that you're using. So I think you should talk about a story or something and then apply the products.
I am seeing this, and it's been going on for a little while, but you know, people even like having a political message or some sort of bigger message while they're doing their makeup. And the makeup is just the hook, the thing that keeps you visually entertained while you're listening to the bigger picture message.
Yes. That's smart. That works because you know that people need to see. They see the products once, twice, 3 times, and then they're likely to remember it, and they're likely to, you know, get interested in that. So I think, but you're keeping them there because you're talking about something else that interests them.
Why do you think we love Get Ready With Me videos so much?
Because, you know, it feels like familiar. It feels like when you were your best friend getting ready before going out, and it gives you a lot of proximity to the person. So yeah, I think that's why it works because it's very, you know, it's easy, it's entertaining.
Yeah. Is there another format that you love and that you know is always going to get great results?
I think when you create a story, like when you create something, you know, like when a campaign has a specific storytelling, when you're being, you know, creative. So
like a narrative arc almost.
Yes.
Tension, anticipation.
Yeah, something that, you know, it's kind of like watching a tiny movie, let's say. So there's a story, there's a storyline. So that works. I think every campaign that has a storyline, it works.
For sure. Okay, last question for you before we wrap up. What is the best piece of marketing advice that you've ever been given?
Once when, you know, I was talking with like this agent that was very smart and very creative and all of that. And he always said like I think like people remember that, like they do not remember like the campaign itself, but like they remember how like a brand made them feel in a way. And so the goal is not, you know, obviously, it is on visibility and all of that, but it's like, the real goal is like to create an emotional connection with your audience. Yeah. So I think, I think that's good advice because at the end of the day, people, you know, obviously we're all humans and we all have emotions and we all want to feel emotions in a way. I
was actually just writing about that this weekend about maybe not even starting with a concept, but start with the feeling. So the brief is, what do you want the consumer to feel, and then reverse engineer from there. Yes. Well, Allegra, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was so lovely. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
That was Allegra Contatore. If you want to see the Bach Bouquin campaign she mentioned and follow along with what she's up to at Sunday Riley, all the links are there for you in the show notes. My Best Campaign is brought to you by Monday Creative. The episode was produced by Emily Heibeck and hosted by me, Amanda Lee Smith. Our sound engineer is Andrew Bagaspas, and our theme music is by Shimon Machida.